We are recording this on Friday in the week in which we've lost Victoria Wood and Prince.
I know. It's just like and Percy Sledge.
And Percy Sledge.
Yeah.
I went to see Victoria Wood at the Albert Hall once, and the jokes were coming so thick and fast I was crying with laughter I couldn't breathe. And my memory of Prince is that I had, I think, Raspberry Beret on my jukebox that I owned when I was much, much younger.
I was wondering what you were going to say there, because so many people say they've had amazing experiences to Purple Rain. So
No. Hello. As if I would. I don't remember any amazing experiences to Purple Rain, but there you go.
We want to keep our non-explicit rating.
If we can. If we can. Although I said a slightly rude word under my breath earlier today, but there you go.
It's a brand new day. Gotta take it on my way. Gotta take it on my way.
Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show.
It's a brand new day. Gotta take it on my way. Gotta take it on my way.
Well, good morning, Judith. I am bright and alert this morning, even having been awake half the night and been podcasting at 5 o'clock this morning.
Yeah, hello, you mad old stick. What do you like? I can't say I thought of you at 5 o'clock this morning, but I did think of you when my eyes opened about 3 hours later.
Yeah, 3 hours later. Well, you know, the thing is, I was keen to get involved in this UK podcasters marathon, and the only two times he had was 3 o'clock in the morning and 5 o'clock in the morning. So I thought I might be able to get up by 5, but it was like exactly like when I go on an early flight. I have dreams.
I was going to say it's like going to the airport, isn't it?
You have dreams about missing your flight. You have dreams about oversleeping. Those dreams then wake you up with a horrible shock, which all contributes to the fact that you're much more likely to oversleep because you haven't had much sleep.
Yeah. Well, I did see you in your pink dressing gown and your pink wallpaper live on a Facebook Live thing this morning, so not all bad, Nicola.
No, exactly. So that was, honestly, I'm so getting over how I look on video. I just don't care anymore. But,
podcasting, perhaps we could start a new one called podcastinginunited.com.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I thought you'd like the whole pinkness of it all, and Mike said it woke him up a bit because I was a bit startling compared with some of the other people.
So was he podcasting? Excuse me. Was it only him that could see you in the pink?
No, everyone could.
Oh, so it wasn't so much podcasting as podcasting with pictures.
Exactly. Well, it's blabbing, which is a video thing, and he's doing 36 hours straight of UK podcasters blabbing to him on video about their podcasts and you know what they use their podcasts for. So I got in millions of plugs for Own It, and there is, you know, he got his social reach on his Thunderclap was over 1 million people.
I know, I saw it. How genius is he? Well, given that his thing is social media, thank God he's a genius at it.
Yeah, good point. But no, I enjoyed it, and that came on top of an amazing event on Wednesday in Kent, which took me twice as long as it should have done to get there because I decided to go the scenic route and override my sat-nav lady. And then, of course, I was using Google Maps, and they don't triangulate very fast. So as you're coming up to a junction, it looks like it's the next junction you want, but actually just too late. They triangulate and tell you it was that one you just went past. So I end up driving through the most beautiful. I mean, Kent is beautiful. I've never been there before. It's even more
beautiful.
Sussex.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's called the Garden of England, Kent, because it's full of apple orchards and hops. They grow hops there for beer and things.
I ended up driving through the most divine wood because obviously I missed a turning, and then they retriangulate and send you across country to try and pick up the road you should have got. And I ended up driving through a one-lane road through the most divine wood. It was just absolutely beautiful. Lovely.
Well, you tempted me somewhat from Busy Bee's Garage that you were going to show me live on Facebook video the scenery. But as soon as you started the engine, the thing ended. So it was like, oh, well, that's awful. She's tempted us and now she's not going to show us.
I felt very bad about
it. I was a bit disappointed, actually. You know, I don't even really like video. And I thought, oh, a bit of Kent countryside. I wouldn't mind seeing that.
No, it was stunning, but unfortunately the mobile signal wasn't strong enough. So all the while this mobile video thing is getting bigger and bigger, they need to get a stronger signal because it just cuts out unexpectedly. Yeah. But you know, these videos on my timeline, they are getting 95% more reach and engagement than any other kind of post.
That's annoying. It means I'll have to learn how to do it.
Yes.
It is annoying. That's annoying.
Even if you don't show yourself, Judith, you could show, beautiful bits of the places you're going to. How's your week been?
Well, good. Had the survey for selling the flat 7 days after the offer. Seemed to go well. Have you ever seen a programme, I'm not sure what channel it airs on, I think it might be on Sky, called Stella with Ruth Jones in it. Have you ever seen that?
I have seen it, yes.
There's the sort of head nurse who's rather terrifying and a bit androgynous. Do you know the one I mean? The one that shouts at her all the time in the training. Well, the surveyor looked a bit like her in a very severe black suit, so rather terrifying person, actually. And there were, when you probably don't, or you've forgotten because it's so long ago, but when you have a survey, when you're selling, you really don't want the surveyor acting for the other side to find anything wrong with your flat, because that opens the door for them, cheese pairing on the price. And I had a couple of little guilty secrets I didn't want her to find, and she found both of them. But it perplexed her that when she used her damp meter, no damp was recorded, and I knew they weren't damp, but the paint was flaking off in a couple of places. So I said, oh, I know the flat's not damp because it's nice and warm and it's not getting any worse and there's no bubbling and all the other symptoms of damp. And I said, isn't that great? She said, yeah, it's great for you. It's not great for me. So clearly her raison d'etre as a surveyor is to find evidence for the purchaser to pay less money for the property. So that was quite interesting. Yes. And the other one, I don't want you to say out loud what it's called if you even know, because it's a secret as yet. But your sister, in 5 days or less, has made me a new blog site for blogging my new adventures.
I know. I'm looking forward to reading those. That's for sure.
Well, I'm hoping to start writing this weekend, but we did it all by email, and we did it fast. I think it's the fastest website either of us have ever created. So that was quite good fun.
She was saying actually that it's I said, oh, that looks nice, and she said, isn't it ironic that all people see is whether it looks nice or not, and they don't realise all the plugins and the setup and everything that goes on behind the scenes. So, but that's one of the beauties of her. She can't do things by half. So you've got a good set up website there.
Whether I wanted it or not, which is another conversation for another day. But I am having that conversation with her on email, so that's fine.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you've got a great name there. I mean, I won't say it out loud.
No, say it out loud, please.
I'm not going to say it out loud, but it is a sparkling name, if I may say so. We like a good name, don't we?
We do.
So I just to backtrack a little bit on this Digital Kent thing. I made contact at that with Thomas Power, who used to who founded Academy. And what a nice man he is. I'd totally forgotten what a nice man he is. He was tweeting about me while I was on stage, and he was sharing stuff to his 140,000 Twitter followers. And I said to him, what are you doing now? And he came for lunch with us, and I'd met this also lovely, nice young man, because I was looking for someone who was good at social media to pick out in the crowd and use as a positive example. And he came to lunch with us as well. And Thomas teaches CEOs and MDs how to project themselves and comport themselves properly and promote their businesses on Twitter. Now, whoever thought? That's a niche, isn't it? Teaching people how to use Twitter properly, one-to-one.
I tell you who did do a bit of that, Mark Shaw, who was quite quick off the bat with Twitter. Do you remember?
Yes, I do remember.
Yeah. I mean, if you love Twitter, that would be a nice niche.
It is, and the thing I'm finding really interesting is that Thomas then put me into one of his private groups on WhatsApp. Now, I don't use WhatsApp at all, apart from to talk to message Heather sometimes. And there's quite a lot of conversation going on in there, and quite a lot of the people in that group are actually getting paid quite a lot by corporates to go and teach them what they need to know about digital media. And I can definitely see some sort of zeitgeist happening now. Whereas before companies were totally disinterested in it, in this room in Kent, there was 100 very clued up businesses, and they included solicitors and accountants and people like that who I've never really, and your surveyor story reminded me of them, people who I'd never really thought of as being interested in social media for their businesses are now starting to get interested. So,
And you know what? It's only taken them 15 years to catch on.
yes, it's an overnight success, this digital media.
Honestly, don't start me on that, because it really is quite annoying. They're the rump, aren't they? I mean, I know we're early adopters and they are sort of, they are the opposite of us. But, oh, great, lawyers and accountants are catching on. I mean, it is great. Obviously, it's great. But where have they been? They've had their heads up their rear ends, haven't they?
Yes, I think they have. And Gary Vaynerchuk talks about it. He says, businesses, look at your business marketing. Are you marketing for the 70s or the 80s or the 90s? Or are you marketing your business for the world you live in today? And he gets people to stand up and say, okay, who sent a text within the last blah, blah? Who put an emoji in that text, a smiley face in that text? You're living in this world now, but you're marketing like it's 1975. And I thought that was really...
I went to a party at my brother's house about, I don't know, a number of years ago, 5, 6, 7, when they were setting up the big house and going to buy a plot of land on which to buy the smaller house. And I sat next to my brother, having been a CEO of a bank. Normally you sat next to some CEO or other. And he and I were always very strange, dinner companions. And this man told me proudly, I'm not going to say, it's a household name that he was the CEO of in the insurance industry. And he proudly told me that they weren't on comparison sites and you couldn't buy the insurance online. And I went, oh, God. I mean, it's like their market, people who don't want to do something online are old age pensioners who are going to die.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, 20 years time, they won't have a business left.
I know. I saw that today. I saw it, when you think about Uber, who do you think about Uber putting out of business?
Mini cabs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think of Uber putting in. Well, I know there's a big backlash against from the other people who were already in the sector. A bit like there's a backlash against Airbnb.
Yeah, exactly. But so there was a big demonstration in London, I think, and there was certainly one in Brighton. They're resisting Uber in Brighton fiercely at the moment. But do you know what I saw? I saw a chart today. I can't remember. I've been up for a long time. A chart today that showed that car rental among professionals between 30 and 50 is hit an all-time low because of Uber. People prefer to use Uber than rent a car nowadays.
Yes.
Who'd have thought that they would disrupt that market? But it is.
No, well, quite. Yeah, I know. I mean, actually, I don't think, that's something we see already. None of my nieces and nephews have got a car. I don't think they care that they haven't got a car. They're just, if you drink, you don't really need a car, do you?
Well, exactly. I think it was Ricky Gervais that said that on that thing I watched with Kevin Costner. He said, "Why would I have a car? You can't drink. You can't drink if you've got a car, and you would go out in the evening to have a drink."
You're right. He did say that. Yeah. Well, the difference is that my three have got day jobs. If you've got a day job and you drink, you don't need a car, because the only time you can use a car is in the evenings. You've gone out for a drink. Yeah, Ricky Gervais was right. But yes, I think it's interesting, because the first thing I wanted when I was in my late teens and early 20s was a car, because it was freedom.
Yeah, absolutely. And my son's just got a Vespa for exactly that reason. He wants freedom, and he doesn't want to have to rely on lifts and things. Anyway, that's our week. So what's fueled your fire this week, Judith?
Well, as you know, in a minute, I'm going to read out some rave reviews we've had. But the most exciting, not the most exciting, an exciting thing that happened to me this week was the realization that our summit will help us to grow and monetize our podcast proactively, whereas typically the model for podcast monetization is sponsorship, which is slow, passive, and organic, because you've got to wait for the machinery, the podcast to gain momentum before you can attract that. But we didn't. That wasn't our goal. But our mad idea 2 or 3 weeks ago of having the summit, which we didn't. We just went, let's have a summit. We didn't go, let's grow and monetize our podcast proactively. But it made me realise, this is going to accelerate the monetization and the audience.
So why? Obviously, it's going to expand the audience, and that audience, as you can see from looking at the graph that I'm looking at, is expanding naturally anyway. Why do you think? Because we're producing a product.
Yeah. To more than one product, aren't we?
I don't know. Yes, also we are.
Yes.
Two products.
Yes, two products. Yeah, exactly.
That's right. And
So what we've done, typically for us, is that we've grasped control of something for ourselves rather than waiting for the world to catch on. There we go. It's the same argument again.
absolutely. And I am looking at, I know something else has fueled your fire, which is the reviews, but I'm looking at a graph right now that's showing that we know that, I'm looking at a graph that shows that before, what date was it? Before this date, when was that? I've got no idea. Beginning of 2006, let's say the end of 2005, our podcast episodes peaked at around 100 downloads initially, and then they went on to accrue 200 or 300 more downloads. Now we can see that every episode is peaking at least above 120, and definitely most of them are peaking, some of them are peaking up to 160, 170 on immediate download, that is. And I know from the stats I can see that they're, over a 6-week period, they're getting 400 or 500 downloads per episode. That's 400 or 500 people, Judith, listening to each one of these episodes.
I know.
I find that exciting and astonishing. So, reviews then.
Yes. So we. Based on a nudge from me, which you tried to put back to me, but I didn't embrace it because I was too busy. I said that we should go on the UK podcasters directory.
Yes.
And you were too impatient to wait for me to do it, so you did it yourself. Classic, which is great. It wasn't even a strategy on my part, but there we go. And you asked, as you always do, for people to leave us reviews, and we've got 4 5-star reviews. And I'll tell you what's really fun about these. The first 2 are from 2 of our most loyal long-term listeners, Alice and Irene. And the most recent 2 are from new listeners who are less than a week or 10 days old. One is Rochelle, who you met in that thing that you did for 7-Day Startup.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yep.
And the other one is Jenny. So I'll start with Jenny. I look forward to listening to your podcast. It's funny, lively, incredibly useful, real business advice, and I find it very motivating. She was the lady that said she can now bring herself to go to the gym. Now, I'm going to quote all of these people's websites to give them a shout out as well. Jenny's website is roots, like ROUTES, rootsandbranches.com, and she helps small businesses. Rochelle, you're going to absolutely love Rochelle's website. Now, let me read what she says, first of all. She says, I have just discovered this wonderful podcast, and I have been binge listening to the back catalogue for the last week as I've been driving stupid amounts of kilometres. Listening to these girls is like chatting to a friend, but a friend who has some great business insight. I love the chatty nature of the episodes, the brutal honesty, the lack of ego and bravado that I find comes with many, mostly US-based business podcasters. Keep them coming, Nicola and Judith. Now, click on Rochelle's name, Nicola, and discover her website is for deliciously plump women to do exercise in Australia called escapingyourcomfortzone.com.
Oh my God, that's really good, isn't it? Try and adventure.
Look at them. I know, look at them, aren't they gorgeous?
Yeah, they are, and they're going hiking by the looks of them. And one of them's got a baby who's looking very askance at the rest of them. Like that.
So that's Rochelle and Jenny, who are our newer listeners. Our older listeners, not old in age, but old in loyalty, is Irene. I look forward to the show every week. Nicola and Judith are naturally humorous as they discuss business and life. The brilliant connection between the two means the open and honest sharing of their years of experience is a treat. An added bonus is their theme tune, the best out there by far, which should be a hit in its own right. Totally agree. Now, Irene's website is buildingtopcompanies.com.
Very nice.
And last but not least is AliceSheridan.com, isn't it? Alice is the artist. The only podcast I have on auto download, often very funny, this natural chat between 2 experienced but very down-to-earth business ladies. For solo or small businesses, this is helpful discussion around what issues you may be facing with enough new info to tempt you to be braver and do what it takes without feeling completely beyond you. I like that it's meaty enough to last a good walk or car journey, and it's not full of jangles and plugs. Really good stuff if you want a dose of helpful and optimistic reality for your business rather than being sold the dream. Lovely, Alice. Thank you so much. I know all of those. Well, Alice and Irene listen every week very loyally. And we've got 2 new reviewers there as well, which is great fun.
I've just remembered, I know Rochelle. I met her at Superfast Business, I'm pretty sure.
Because you're looking at her picture, are you? It's a gorgeous picture, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fabulous. I'm not sure which one is her, but I do remember, and obviously there's been quite a lot happened since I got back from Australia, but I do remember talking to someone about this, because obviously I'm a plus size lady myself, and we were talking about me going to the gym and, how it was difficult to find things to wear. So I'm pretty sure that I met Rochelle at Superfast Business. So if it is you, Rochelle, I'm so sorry. It's just been rather a tumultuous few month and a half since I got back, but I'm pretty sure it's all coming back to me now.
It has been a tumultuous. I'm talking of tumult. We are recording this on Friday in the week in which we've lost Victoria Wood and Prince.
I know. It's just like and Percy Sledge.
And Percy Sledge.
Yeah.
I went to see Victoria Wood at the Albert Hall once, and the jokes were coming so thick and fast, I was crying with laughter, I couldn't breathe. And my memory of Prince is that I had, I think, Raspberry Beret on my jukebox that I owned when I was much, much younger.
I was wondering what you were going to say there, because so many people say they've had amazing experiences to Purple Rain. So.
No. Hello. As if I would. I don't remember any amazing experiences to Purple Rain, but there you go.
We want to keep our non-explicit rating.
If we can. If we can. Although I said a slightly rude word under my breath earlier today, but there you go.
Did you? Well, I've been set on fire. Have you been set on fire by anything else? No. No. It
was the thing about monetising and growing the podcast, which was mine. What's yours?
It's just all these new platforms. I just absolutely love it. I did an anchor yesterday.
I saw you. That's good. I shared it. It was great.
It's quite a nice anchor, because I think it's 3 minutes max, so it's actually quite a long time. I'm used to Snapchat now, where you get 10 seconds if you're lucky. And I'm doing more Snapchatting. I did some Anchor. I've actually had nice email communication with a lady from Anchor who says that if you do any content explicitly, just exclusively on Anchor, make sure you select a unique hashtag for it, and that enables Anchor listeners to search for the hashtag and find all. So, for example, I want to do 30 days of entrepreneurship, the things that I've observed over the years about being an entrepreneur. She said, so make sure you give it a unique hashtag, and that'll enable your listeners to find all the episodes, but it will also give me a chance to perhaps interview you and feature your content if it's good. So that's a nice tip from Anchor. And the other thing is, this is a great way to create content. This is what I was talking about with Mike Russell earlier. If you could do 30 3-minute audios, you've pretty much got a little course there, haven't you? Which could be transcribed and turned into an email course with links to listen to the original sound. It's a great way to create content anyway. That's what I'd like to say.
Okay.
So on to Client Challenge of the Week then.
I've been helping clients enjoy happier lives for nearly 40 years, during which time I've enjoyed thousands of conversations with human beings in all their infinite variety. It makes a big difference to have someone with whom you can share things you might not have told another living soul, perhaps not even admitted to yourself. A confidant, an ally, a secret weapon. Now, I've created Big Talk so that I can help you create a wonderful life through a series of significant conversations. You talk and I give you a damn good listening to. Our calls will raise your vibration and clear out all that stands between you and what you want. Big Talk will reshape your life, your work, your business, your ideas and your money. We'll talk about anything and everything. Visit judithmorgan.com to find out more about Big Talk and prepare for your magical transformation.
Yeah, I think it is a challenge this week, actually, isn't it? Are we going to do Alice's one? Actually, it wasn't just Alice, Lisa, and somebody else. 3 people said, we talk a lot here about marketing systems and processes and funnels for selling digital stuff. Any way that we would tweak that advice of people selling physical stuff? So Lisa is selling boxes of conversation cards, and Alice is selling art. Any different thoughts about if you were selling? I mean, I know you helped a guy in Worthing sell his art once. Did you do that online?
Yes, I did. Yes, and the other things that I've sold, physical products that I've sold online, have been cataract eye drops for cataracts in dogs and
Oh yes, I remember the eye drops. Yeah.
well, they were great, and they sold like hotcakes. Only thing about that, because it was for dogs and horses, it was fine. Actually, interestingly enough, the eye drops worked in humans as well, and that's why it started. This gentleman on his, he was like a rocket scientist, but in biology. And
Yeah.
his mum had cataracts, and it was before they were treatable. So he was on a mission to save people from having cataracts, especially in the third world. The other thing was I've helped sell wheatgrass extract that comes from a hydroponic farm in Ireland and is dispatched in packs of, because it has to stay so fresh. I think you subscribe to.
Yeah, you do. I've had it. It's great. It goes in the freezer, doesn't it? Yeah.
Very tasty.
Hmm.
And, so that's a subscription. I think there is a great book about this, about how to turn any physical product or service into a subscription model. And it's from the bloke. Oh, it's gone.
Isn't it the automatic customer?
That's absolutely right, John Warrilow.
Yeah.
And a brilliant book.
But I don't think that would work for Alice or Lisa. So it would, if you were setting out to market something. Let's say. It's very difficult for me to get my head around a physical product these days because I'm A, minimalist, and B, digital. But if you were starting out, would you do marketing any differently? I was trying to think of either of your children wanting to sell something physical, but they wouldn't.
Hang on, let's talk about their two products. Let's give them some value as they've piped up.
Okay. So Lisa runs a business called Think Cards, which is very successful. And what she does is she approaches somebody who already has, or she reaches an agreement with somebody like you or me, or somebody like us who already has a big audience, and it might be around, so you could be a divorce coach or any sort of issue-based coaching, and you create conversation cards that people can use in their families, at school, with their therapists or whatever, where, let's say, 4 of you, imagine your children were 10 years younger and you're sitting at the dining room table and your children aren't talking. What you do is you draw one of these cards and it's like a fun game, and it asks a question, and the children talk about the card, not realizing they're telling you about themselves. They're conversation starting cards for use in various different ways, and you buy a physical pack. And schools buy them, not only schools, schools and private individuals buy them. So it's not really suitable for a subscription model because you wouldn't want the full set, because if nobody's got ADHD, you're not going to need the ADHD pack, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So presumably this is something interesting, because anytime I talk to someone about marketing a physical product, I always find that they haven't thought beyond the sale of that one product. And so they don't know things like their lifetime customer value, or they haven't, the lifetime customer value is exactly the same as the profit in the one product, because they haven't realized that getting a customer is the most difficult bit, and selling that customer, in fact, that customer is hungry to buy from you other things that because they've got to the point of trusting you, and they've given you their...
Well, I'm going to interrupt you for a second, because the schools buy multiple packs, but also the main buyer is the coachy devisee person, the person who created the content, because if they've got an audience, they can sell it to the audience. So really, Lisa's customer is the co-creator of the content, if that makes sense.
So she's not creating her own content. She's
not. No, she's not. She's the printer, processor, creator of the physical product.
Yeah, but okay. So say there's a divorce coach out there, and they co-create the content with Lisa. Then there's got to be hundreds, if not thousands, of other divorce coaches or other conflict resolution coaches or whatever. So they should be really looking to go out and sell more of those packs to those people, those coaches who use it. So again, you've got to look past the first sale and build a back end. And we know that Infusionsoft allows you to build back end marketing, and also Drip if you don't want to go Infusionsoft. It allows you to build a marketing funnel to your customers and prospects based on what action they take. So I would definitely be looking to go out and find an audience of people like the people who you co-created the card with, and selling those cards, because you don't have to go through the whole pain of and expense of setting it all up. It's been done. So why not just keep selling it to those different audiences and do some sort of licensing deal with the original co-creator so that they?
Well, I think that's what's happened. So the co-creator is the client, and I'm thinking, for instance, that because the library of boxes of cards is wide and various, it means that the originator of the content effectively is the person who has to build the audience with other divorce coaches, because all the rest of the audiences for all the other boxes are completely different, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so looking at it from a point of view of, well, I don't agree that it has to be the co-creator that builds the audience, because they're busy getting on with their business. No.
It's a requirement of Lisa's business that they come with an audience.
Oh yeah, of course. But then what I'm saying is that Lisa's business could be about going on to sell those cards to other people like the original co-creator. But
it could be, but what my point is, if she builds an audience of other divorce coaches, Lisa, let's say, and then her next product is about autism, that first audience isn't going to help the second audience.
No, but you can build multiple audiences, and
well, she'd have to build an audience for every single box. That's the point. Every single type of box.
That's not that hard. And also, what you'd have is you wouldn't have a website with all of the different boxes on, which would be too overwhelming. What you would do is you would run Facebook or Twitter ads to an audience. You would bring that audience to an opt-in page. You would get them to opt in and then jump them specifically to the page on the website that sells them the thing they opted in for. You wouldn't send them to the home page. And it would just be like a massive e-commerce site. Nobody would buy anything because they wouldn't know what to go. You would create multiple entry points, but very specific entry points. It could be huge, this one. Huge.
Yeah. I mean, it's a massive amount of work. You're basically doing the business again for every single product.
So what you do is, but all of that can be outsourced. What you do is you pick the most profitable one. You look at all the cards you've created, and you look at the one that sold the most and made the most profit, and then I would start with that one. I would go out and start marketing that to a wider audience, and then reinvest the profits from that first one into paying other people to recreate what you did with that first one on all the other markets.
That would work.
Huge.
So, actually, the one that sells best is the one that the audience are telling you they like.
Yeah. Yeah, and it also gives you a clue that the audience is bigger for that one.
It also gives you a prototype if you start with that one, which actually then you do all the work on that one yourself, but then you've got a process manual and then you just farm it out, which would suit Lisa a lot, because she's just about to become, guess what, a digital nomad. She and her husband have sold their house and all their possessions and are about to start travelling the world.
Oh my God, that's brilliant. This is huge, Judith. I mean, that would be huge, that business, and it would be. It would just be incredible, because then you've got databases of customers that you could then think about what do they need next.
Yeah.
They need these cards.
Yeah. What else would they buy, or who else could you joint venture with?
It's a global multinational business in the.
Well, there's good news here, which is Lisa is very good. Well, first of all, she's a grafter. And secondly, she'll understand everything you're saying. Thirdly, she is not one of those dinosaurs we were talking about earlier that don't embrace social media. She'll get it, and she's very quick intellectually. She'll hear what you're saying and probably improve it within her own frame of reference, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think the very fact that you said it could be huge in the global market is probably going to be music to her ears.
And the other thing is, of course, that with physical products, you can add so much to the lifetime value of a customer by going digital afterwards. So say, for example, there's a huge community of divorce coaches who bought these packs. Then surely there's got to be a turnkey membership site for those people, teaching them the things they need to know, which is how to be a better business person, how to be a better marketer. And then ditto for any other community. So, say the other one is for oversize, for fitness professionals who teach plus size ladies how to enjoy exercise and get fit. Then all of those fitness professionals need how to do their business better and how to market themselves better. So you've got one one site, one membership site with information, good quality information in it that could be rolled out to all the different communities and add a continuity program on the back.
Well, I think you need a partner in each one, because each one of those is a business in its own right, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But lots of coaches out there needing help with who can't get enough clients for themselves and would love to coach people in a group environment.
Mm.
Yeah. Who's the other one? Just out of interest.
Alice's art, landscape art.
Okay.
She's doing an art fair this weekend in Reading, which we've never done before, which is exciting. She's got lots of stock. I've got quite a lot of clients. Well, yeah. So Alice is very. You've seen emails from Alice recently, not emails, communications about how well she's doing on Instagram and all that kind of stuff. She's geeky. She's a mum of two sort of teenagers or slightly younger. They've just been to Florida, Disney World for half term for 2 weeks. She packs a lot into her life. She's very, I think she's a star profile, but she's got a lot of mechanics. So if we talk about anything and it resonates with her, and most of it does, she goes off to work out how to do it. She's very diligent. She's got stats about how all her social media profiles are working, blah, blah, blah. And her thing was, we talk about digital. What, if anything, would we do differently if we were marketing physical?
Yeah. Okay, two things about art. One is that I'm seeing more and more in the podcast world particularly that artistic, creative people are becoming, they're having to become entrepreneurs because the old outlets for their art aren't available anymore, and the people who've got art galleries and things, they're clueless about this stuff as well. So a lot of artistic people are becoming entrepreneurs, and I think that if somebody was to start a community for creative people creating physical products and help.
I'm going to stop you there because we started there. But Alice is an artist, so the thing that Alice does best, and I get her to do all the time, is to find enough time to be in the studio to make paintings.
Okay. The other thing,
so when she was on the 30-day challenge, that was the logical suggestion there. All digital suggestions.
Yeah.
How should her marketing be different for selling more of her beautiful paintings in the end?
Let me come back to that. The other thing that popped into my head was when I was at art college myself doing fashion. The girl who sat opposite me, whose name escapes me, which was really good fun, she was more of a textile designer than a fashion designer. She wasn't so interested in clothes. She loved creating beautiful textiles. And she actually ended up putting herself through college quite easily because she was picked up at a fair somewhere. I can't remember exactly. She was showing some of her textiles at a fair, an art fair, and she got an agent in New York who took some of her designs and turned them into very upmarket headscarves and wraps, silk wraps for upmarket ladies. And there are people, they are always looking for art and textile design and all beautiful images to turn into wallpapers, to turn into headscarves, to turn into wraps, to turn into fabric. So
right, then I need you to go to that to your Google, which is on the plump ladies in Melbourne hiking, and put in alicesheridan.com and look at the beautiful landscape on the homepage, and tell me whether you think that's relevant.
Kind of thing that could be turned into textiles or.
Well, and then I think we want to sell pictures.
Well, we'll come back to that in a minute.
She's a landscape artist.
Yeah, what we're trying to do is get her reach bigger and give her other streams of income from her art, isn't it?
No,
we're trying to
sell more. We're trying to sell more paintings.
Okay, all right. So very beautiful, love it a lot. Yeah, let's look at coastal because I live near the coast. So I assume
it sells well. She has a lot of marketing initiatives. She has a thing called Artists at Home in Chiswick, where she lives, once or twice a year, where people come into the homes of artists in her neighbourhood and buy off her walls at home. She does do, 2 or 3 art fairs a year. Income is up year on year. I think all she's saying is, when we talk about marketing, we must remember that people are not just exclusively selling digital stuff. She has got a shop on her page where she's starting to sell prints.
Oh God, exactly. That was going to be my next question. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. Okay, so where the shop? Because that's limited edition prints is the logical way for Alice to go. People love limited edition. They love, having something It's not.
Well, we're on that, but Alice is very particular about detail, as you'd expect, and we are working on that.
Yeah.
There you go. There's the first one. Yeah.
Very nice indeed. Okay, so
But would the marketing be any different, Nicola? So to get, she's doing fantastically well on social media. She measures all of her stats. She's all across Instagram and whatever.
doing a great job.
Should her marketing be any different from mine, or how should her marketing be different from mine?
No, I would say to her Instagram and Pinterest. The only other thing she could do is she could go to Animoto and make little videos of her paintings, scrolling through her paintings, perhaps collections of her paintings, and then put those little videos onto, a minute onto Instagram.
Yep.
And
Yeah, she has done some of that actually in her studio. Yeah, she has done some of that. I can't remember.
so behind the scenes on Snapchat would be great for her.
Yeah,
Behind the scenes video on Instagram, scrolling
yeah,
through paintings. Actually, you can do longer stuff on Facebook now, and also, hang on a second, where was I hearing that you could do longer? And then I would get it onto YouTube. I mean, she's probably doing a lot of this, and a lot of this could be done by a VA. Alice could just spend her time painting, and then she could train a VA to do the legwork and the donkey work of sharing it around. But anything visual, Pinterest and Instagram are huge. And then the provenance of it all. People want to know that, if I bought this particular painting, I would love to see a short video about how that painting came to be. I would love to see a short video about the background of the artist, where she went to college, how she grew up to be an artist, all of that stuff.
yeah.
All
Yeah.
that's
So more human stories that people can latch onto.
absolutely, yeah. Because then you can say, I've got an Alice Sheridan, and you can talk about Alice Sheridan, the artist, instead of
Yes.
having bought a painting for however much.
Yeah. That's creeping up. We can see signs of that. I think the interesting thing that we discovered. Go back to the homepage if you would.
Okay.
That beautiful one there that I love, landscapes, and they do have a home in Dartmoor as well. So there's a lot of it is driven by that. But what was I going to say? Even when you buy an Alice original, and that might be quite a lot of money, the artist owns the copyright.
Yeah.
Retains ownership of the copyright, which I only learned recently through Alice, which I think is quite an interesting thought.
Yeah, but once you've sold a painting, you haven't got it anymore, so you have to take a picture of it, presumably.
Yeah, but you could make limited edition prints of it. So yes, she does take pictures before they all sell. So really, they're not that you would want. If you bought that picture, for instance, would you be upset if you owned the original? Would you be upset if there were 100 prints in circulation?
No, not 100. I might be upset if there were tens of thousands of them. But
no. We had this debate. There probably won't be tens of thousands, but there could be somewhere between 100 and 250.
And I think that would be fine. I wouldn't mind that at all. The other thing is, if it turned up as a silk wrap around a society, one of the Kardashian shoulders, I wouldn't be upset either, because that's a different medium.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would definitely be looking at getting an agent.
I think Alice will go very much. She has made little videos. I think she'll go for that idea. I think she'll enjoy that idea, actually.
Oh, yes. Well, it's very creative, isn't it?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Look at this one, autumn gold.
I know. They're absolutely beautiful. I know. So I think that the tip from Alice is, when we're talking every week on this podcast about digital marketing, we must occasionally remember to think about the people who are selling real things.
Yeah, physical products. And the people who are selling real things must think beyond selling one of anything.
Yes.
That you could, as Alice is doing by turning it into limited edition prints, you can always sell more, or you can sell something else to the people who buy. And I've got this talk to thing on one of my sites, and I was having this conversation with this random visitor who popped up and said, "Oh, I bet nobody's there." And I said, "Well, you'll be shocked to know that I am actually here." And we ended up having this conversation. He said, "Well, I sell really well this one thing. I can't remember what it was now." And I said, "Well, what else are you selling these people?" And he said, "Why would I want to sell them anything else?" I said, "Because you could triple, quadruple, or 10 times your income." He said, "Why would I want to do that? I'm doing really well." I said, "So why are you on a marketing site then?"
Yeah.
It was like he was testing me. I was just Anyway, I think honestly, bring more physical products to the show. Come to the free group on Facebook. Join the Own It free group on Facebook, because we'd love to talk about how to market more things. Oh, well, I would anyway.
Yeah, cool.
I just love it.
Right, shall we move on?
Word of the week.
I'm going for pecuniary. Do you know pecuniary?
Oh, something to do with money.
Yes, of or relating to money.
Oh.
That's it. I rest my case there. That's enough for me.
Right. So you've had one of those weeks then.
Well, I just thought, oh, well, let's look up. There are sites called Word of the Day or Word of the Day, and I went on there, and it offered me pecuniary, which oddly was right up my roo, so I grabbed it.
Right up your roo. I love it when you say that. Well, you're going to have the advantage over me week by week if you've got one of these sites tucked up your sleeve.
Oh no! That's the first time in 76 episodes where I haven't had one of my own mind.
Well, mine is social media, which is 2 words, but obviously they go together. Because, just the whole thing. I mean, Digital Kent were astonishingly good at their social media, and they sold out 100 places at £100. And it took me a little while with my various people to work out how much that was, because I always get a bit confused with zeros. But the other thing was, Mike Russell and his 1 million reach on Thunderclap. I mean, it's astonishing how many people you can get to, isn't it? It's just, social media is marvellous. I love it. So that's my word of the week.
Social media is marvellous. Right. Okay, project updates. I'm going first because what we're going to use this section for week on week is to talk about what progress we're making towards the summit. We've done our first 2 interviews. They were both fascinating in different ways. The first one was interesting. The second one was funny. I loved the second one yesterday.
Yeah, they're good, weren't they?
We immediately after last week's podcast, we did a Facebook Live with me on audio through your speakers. I've learnt how to use Trello, and on our own Thunderclap campaign, we're up to 191,000 people. So we're not doing too badly there either.
No, we're more than 50% supported. 53 supporters on out of 100 with another, actually 2 months to go. It says 1 month, but it's 2 months pretty much. And I've got the main website up with lots of photos and everything. So if you come to ownitthesummit.com, you will be invited to opt in. And the reason I'm doing that is because when I sent all the traffic straight to the page about the summit, our opt-in rate plummeted. So that's an interesting one for everyone to think about. So I put it straight back to getting the opt-in first because it was working about 56%, and then jumping people to the page with all the info about the speakers and everything. So you've got essentially you've got an opt-in followed by what's essentially a sales page, and then people can register for the summit free on that page. And I'm just about to put the 2 packages together today that people will be able to upgrade their summit experience. Do you like that expression?
I do.
Upgrade your summit.
Upgrade your summit experience.
I know. Genius, I am. Genius. I've had a right week of it, I tell you, Judith. I've been on fire this week.
Can you talk for a second while I just look something up? I just want to brag about which speaker I bagged overnight. I'm just going to look up her social reach. I'm just going to check out her social reach before I brag about it.
Yeah. Well, so we did our 2 interviews and really enjoyed it. So what we're aiming to do is, because Mike was asking me today, he said, so is it a live thing or is it a sort of pre-recorded thing? And I said, well, because I'm not as brave as you, Mike, to do it live over 2 days. And also because of the guests are all around the world and in various stages of internet connection. So we are recording all the interviews in advance, and then I haven't decided yet whether we should let people register once, because it's all going to be going out live over 2 days, and I haven't decided on the platform yet. But so people will register to attend that free. But then should we then let people register for each session individually? I don't think we should we? We could just not quite sure how to do that bit.
That would be a terrible faff, but we'll put our heads together on that one later, shall we?
Yeah. And and then obviously we'll be there live. So we'll be there live to chat with the audience and answer questions about anything that arises as a result of the interviews. So it's sort of it's a hybrid thing.
Oh, I'm looking forward to being there live.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're muscling in on all the interviews.
Well, I've said to you, would you like me to be there? Yes, I would. Okay, so the lady I've had to contact a lot of people via their contact forms on their websites, which isn't ideal. But I've contacted a lady overnight who's come back and said, yes, please, lovely. And she's got 14,000 people who like her on Facebook, and you probably know who she is. Her name is Jo Barnes Online.
Oh, yeah.
And
Bugs, yeah.
and she's a lovely person, actually, living the online lifestyle. There's a nice picture of waves crashing on the shore. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, no, she's got a very good reputation, Joe. So that'll be nice to meet her.
It will, and I've realised that before these ones we're talking to people we don't know so very well. There's a little bit of research to be done so that we can sound knowledgeable about them. But I'm looking forward to meeting people we don't know. That was the whole point of this one, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And people who might be able to share with you essential tips for your own forthcoming perambulations around the world.
Well, yesterday was such fun. They said, I'll just tell everybody, I won't tell everybody too much, but there's a family of 4 Americans. They started with a 6-month road trip in America, then they went to Japan, then to Bali, then Australia. And they've jettisoned more and more possessions as they've gone along. So if you can't carry it, you can't take it because your stuff gets really heavy. And they'd rather have Wi-Fi than electricity and food. I thought that was rather funny.
Actually, Wi-Fi doesn't work without electricity. I didn't want to mention that.
Well, by the sound of it, he really liked his pizza as well. So the fact he'd rather have Wi-Fi instead of pizza was really good.
Yeah. Funny. That was a funny episode. It was. They were great. And Shona is such a sweetie. She's really the operations person. She started this home new business herself, but. I tell you what was really impressive about what she said, and where we are so behind the beat, and I understand why we are. American children can be schooled online because, of course, you can live in America and be miles and miles and miles away from a school. So, and what was the brilliant thing is that if your children are schooling themselves by logging in online and working with a teacher, you can do it at any pace you like. So their son had done 12 hours a day, 7 days a week for 4 months, so that he could very proudly tell everybody the absolute truth, which he was then having a 7-month summer holiday. I know, I was quite impressed with that. I wish, I sort of wish that had been around when I'm sure it was around when my kids.
Well, darling, it's not around for our schools. You've got to go to school in England. You can't do that.
No, you can homeschool.
You can homeschool, but you can't do. But she's not homeschooling. She's homeschooling her 5-year-old.
Yeah.
But the 13-year-old, of course, has got to log in online, and we couldn't do that. We can't do that.
I wonder if it's something to listen.
And that's for the American curriculum. There isn't an equivalent here that I know of. And if somebody's listening and knows that there is a UK equivalent, please come to ownitthepodcast.com and leave us a comment. But I don't believe there is. And it's obvious why, because you can crawl to the nearest school in England. We're not miles and miles and miles away from school. So, if you live in Australia, for instance, sometimes you can't get to school.
Perhaps they teach an international curriculum on these things, and that's what kids in international schools learn as well.
Well, that would be obvious, but I don't think that's what she was telling us yesterday, sadly. But it's brilliant that Americans can do that. Lucky you, Americans.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, very inspiring again, the stories that we heard on those. So. Talking of inspiring, what's inspired you this week?
Well, what's impressed me is one of my clients called Kath. And Kath was a dentist in the UK, but now she's an artist in Spain. And right now, she is, well, actually, while I'm telling you the story, I'm going to go and look it up. She's launched, what happened was a local writer contacted her and asked her to illustrate a poem that he'd written about the black dog, which is the name for depression. So it sounds like rather a difficult topic here, but of course many people, many more than we know, are affected by depression. So it's an illustrated poem that they're running a Kickstarter campaign for. So this is really good because it's like selling by another name, and my clients, are at the beginning a little bit anxious about marketing themselves. So here we go. So they've got 20 days to go on their Kickstarter campaign. They've got 79 backers, and they've made €4,000 towards their €12,000 goal. So they're doing pretty well. And the whole thing about Kickstarter and your campaign is launching it's one thing, but you've actually got to keep plugging away at it every day throughout the number of days that you've said. It's going to turn into a book, and you get illustrations and dedications and all sorts of things, your classic range of things. But They're doing really well. I'm really, really pleased for them. 4,000 out of 12,000 is a great result. And you can, as I said to Kath, I'm going to tell people on the podcast that they can donate between 10 and 100 euros. Those are the official levels. But she says, oh, no, any donation, even 5 euros is helpful. So if you or anybody you know has been affected by depression, I'm going to put a link in here to the Kickstarter campaign for the Black Dog illustrated poem.
Okay, but presumably if you just search the Kickstarter site, it's got pretty good search.
Well, it's the Black Dog, DAWG. So
Like
that might
dog.
like Deputy Dog, yeah.
And on those very appalling American accents, no, I'll tell you what's inspired me first. Well, I'm just going to go for Mike Russell because it's not even the fact that he stayed up for 36 hours and he's still looking quite chirpy. It's the fact that he's simultaneously broadcasting on 4 to 5 platforms. He's doing, it's on Blab, it's on Spreaker, which I've never heard of before. It's going out.
It's Spreecast.
No, it's not. It's Spreaker. Spreaker, which it seems to be.
Oh, no, Spreaker. Yes, I know. Yes, a Spreaker. I've heard of Spreaker. Yeah.
It's going out on live on Periscope, and it's going out live on Facebook Live video, and it's going out live on YouTube, because apparently this isn't anything to do with Google Hangouts either. If you go to your YouTube channel, you've got the ability to broadcast live on that. And no complicated Google Hangout stuff to set up either. So that's a new thing on YouTube.
Now, Nicola, has he got a glamorous assistant in the spangly tights helping him with that? Because that's a lot of things to be juggling. I mean, you wouldn't know, if you were focusing on your guest, you wouldn't know if one of those had stopped working.
Well, interesting you should say that, Judith, because I discovered that he's got the same VA I have. Because I recognised her name, and I said, "It's not Blah from the Philippines, is it?" And he said, "Yes, it is." And I said,
Wow.
"Oh, this girl gets everywhere. I don't know how she's got time to look after her husband and child, who's quite often, running a fever and things." But yeah, interesting. She's really very good on the techie stuff, and she's helping him. So's his wife Isabella, who obviously I think you've just been interviewed by, haven't you, Isabella?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
When will that be coming out for us all to enjoy?
I'll let you know. She said she'd got a 2 or 3 week backlog. I mean, all of the interviews that she did are promotion for their event in the summer. So I think, that I don't actually know. Is it June, their gig in London? I'm not sure. They're coming. She said, I did her last Friday, which is a week ago, that she said there'd be a 2 or 3 week delay.
Yeah. But so that's who's inspired me, because the thought of running all that tech simultaneously gives me absolute heart failure at the very
Oh, no, I think you're right. I mean, 1 or 2 of those would be fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is a lot, isn't it?
It is a lot, yeah. But he's also done a really he did 100 days of tips to promote it. So every single day he was streaming live onto all those platforms, and even little things, like how to. Did you know that? Oh, you probably wouldn't. When you get a smartphone, Judith, you'll be interested in this stuff. There's a thing about smartphones is you need a little thing to put them on when you're streaming live, because you can only do it from your phone, and so you need a sort of what's it called, a tripod. Well, he showed us how to find and buy a magnetic tripod which attached itself to all sorts of things, like his radio boom for his microphone, and your iMac is metal, of course, so you can actually clip it onto anything.
Do you know what he did that really impressed me? I mean, I wouldn't ever want to do it, and I didn't need it doing to me. But when I followed him on Twitter, he sent me back a personalised 30-second video.
Oh, that is supposed to be incredible for creating engagement. And it was personalised, was it?
Yes. Hello, Judith. Thanks for following me on video. Picture of him driving his car with his camera looking at him.
Good God. See, that's supposed to be amazing for building community. I'll have to try it. I'll let you know. Cool. Okay, that's us done.
Lovely.
Off we jolly well go to have our next week. Let's hope it's as rocking as last week was.
I need to give you a heads up about next week. Next week we're recording on Wednesday, the 27th of April, which is my birthday. So I will want the special sound effects of the chinking champagne that we had at New Year.
Okay. I'll see if I can. I can definitely arrange some sound effects. You know me. See you later.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.